have up is the Player House Tournament. Just for everyone's awareness, if you haven't heard of the Player House, it's a new concept that we introduced this year. Really kind of going along with the theme of kind of moving further and further towards fully on-chain games being actually playable. The thinking was to bring together a group of the most prolific on-chain gaming players together with some of the developers who are building and launching some of the most exciting games that are reaching mainnet over the next couple months. So there's 15 players, and there's a space upstairs in the hotel where they're going to be sitting kind of playing a bunch of these games over the next couple days. So the thinking is to spend some time kind of picking the brains of the players themselves and kind of hear about their experience so far. So without further ado, we'll get it started. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, okay, everyone. Let's go. So, my name is Anatoly. I'm the founder of Force Prime. I'm not a player, but we're kind of trying to keep lives for the player house. Let's do it super quick. I prefer that ask a question, do quick intro, just few words about your background, and then just ask the question. So, for the first one, let's go. What actually, in your opinion, have on-chain games emerged? What do you think?
So Vero and mates, lifelong gamer. Currently my main involvement is with Walkers, media for fully on-chain game space. Hope you're all following. I'm also a contributor around the world. Shout out. As far as the question, so why exactly did fully on-chain games emerge?
You as a player.
As a player, my main thing is about forever games. So specifically with me, my first game that really captured me and that I spent money on was Battlefield Heroes. If anyone remembers it, it was like a cartoon version of Battlefield. It was the better version of Fortnite, if you ask me. But the game got shut down. It was still profitable. The studio was making money, but it was something in terms of the Battlefield licensing. It's kind of unclear, but the game was shut down. The players who were spending money were just left with nothing and left without a great game. And with fully on-chain games, the main thing that drew me in was this concept of the games being able to live forever on the blockchain without being able to be taken down by the traders.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Matt, what about you?
Hey everyone, welcome to Ben. I won a loss, which is a on-chain game guild. Shout out to all the guild members out there in the audience. Woo! Why did fully on-chain games emerge? Very good question. I would say, for me, I think it emerged when people found it fun, even in their very recent stage. The degree to which people grind these games, even though most of them are very janky, most of them are very blood bugs, but there's something about them that's very special. And the degree to which people put so many hours into them is insane. And I think one of the reasons for that is I know Ned's talked about kind of forever games. To me, what interests me is financialization and composability. I think when we have the entire game logic on chain, instead of just only the assets that we see on the web, Web3 games who have could really create these large, interesting economies and kind of tap into the crypto economy in a way on a deeper level than kind of a regular game whose logic is off-chain. I think as well, and that's tied into how fully on-chain games are composable, so anyone can build on top of the game and without permission, without any sort of restrictions. And I think that's giving people a kind of greater sense of ownership of the game, they feel, as they can really build a part that can help create something in the world. There would be kind of the two attributes that kind of really fully on-chain games. And as well, some of the games are actually fun, which I know is many people don't think is the case, but it's definitely true.
Yeah, cool. What about you?
Hey everyone, I'm Nate, also known as Nexonic on X and Discord. I've been playing Web3 games and working in the sector for a bit over 4 years now. And why did I basically see the Web3 games emerging? It's pretty simple in my eyes because blockchain is a permissionless technology, it can be expanded upon, and it was just a matter of time when people figure out how to gamify it. Now, why was this obvious to me is perhaps also a good question, because I've been trading Counter-Strike skins on Steam Marketplace for a while, so it made sense to me that cosmetic items or rare items or unique items had some sort of fiat value associated with them. And I could extrapolate that onto basically permissionless games, composable games, so maybe I could earn an item in one game and use it in another. Maybe I would get a special title for slaying a dragon in a third game or something like that, and I'm still optimistic about that, even though that hasn't fully materialized yet.
That's good. What do you think?
Hi, my name is Orek. I used to work in a blockchain audio company, and I'm a gamer since the very early years of my life. I've been playing all types of games, from football, volleyball, to multiplayer computer games. And talking about on-chain games, there are two ideas that are important for me. The first one is a small one. If properly built, they are unshippable, which is good. But the second idea is much greater to me. On-chain games are usually incentivized, and you can basically earn there if you are good, which brings me to the point that people are incentivized to try hard, to play well, and to play for victory. And anyone who played football just winters near the houses or play League of Legends or normals know that if people are not incentivized to win, they will not care about the game, and the game will probably become uninteresting. So that's it.
That's good. Okay, so we have a lot of developers here. Let's talk about. It's working? Yeah, it's working. Right. So let's talk about developers, about bad things. What are really bad things you encounter in many on-chain games? So like, what's in common? What do developers tend to forget about? Let's share some straightforward feedback to developers. Drew.
One thing that comes to mind is that the normie player base are not developers themselves. And I think many fully on-chain games, especially the playtests, tend to involve many other developers. So then you end up building a game, or let's say the UI of the game, in the sense that you're trying to fulfill the wishes of a fellow developer, which is possibly good depending on what's the target user for your game. For example, if you're exposing function calls to a normal gamer and they need to go through these function calls and see what they do, and they need to go through with the transaction, but they might not be fully clear what it means for them, but it just seems like a scam for them, that might be an issue. And while developers like that, or people in crypto currently enjoy and appreciate that everything that they're signing in terms of transaction is very much displayed, so they know what they're signing. More gamers who maybe appreciate this being shown to them in a different way, in a bit more packaged way, or maybe through some kind of an animation, or who knows. But that's the main thing that comes to mind, is that playtests should involve more normie gamers, as opposed to people who are already very familiar with the space.
Thanks.
I would say for me, the biggest thing I see is marketing. I think a lot of games kind of treat their games like tech products instead of entertainment products. It's kind of how I view them as a game. A game's an entertainment product, really just even basic marketing. Like there's barely any trailers, barely any guides. It's really hard to learn about these games. Really hard to find them. You also have a lot of teams will kind of launch their big announcements or updates at the most random times. Not even like on a Friday night or on a weekend or some random time when even at a conference when like a huge chunk of the player base right now is even unavailable. So I really think just like even just like the basics of marketing will really help kind of grow the space a lot and bring new players. There is a lot of demand among crypto natives, I think, to play these games. It's just a matter of getting the game in front of them.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. Yeah, in my eyes, I think the biggest problem is that often developers don't even know who their target audience is. And this touches upon what the other two panelists mentioned as well. Like, if you're building a fully on-chain game, are you targeting people who are already familiar with crypto, who know how to sign transactions, who know how to import a private key, or are you trying to cater to somebody who never even heard about those things and just wants to have a smooth onboarding experience and a game that works? Also pre-sales, but that's a bit more nitty-gritty topic because it makes sense to raise money sometimes, but there can be too many projects who never deliver upon their promises after raising big amounts of money in this space, and I think it also casts a bad light on legit projects who are actually building here.
Well, one thing that I can think of is developers sometimes are not sure or do not reassess enough if they even need the on-chain component in their games, because some games don't need it.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Thank you, guys. Maybe some positive things. What do you think? 1, 2. Which on-chain game will become as like first great success? What it will be about and why it will be successful? What do you think?
The first. So the question was specifically the first.
Yeah. You can go on second or third. It's still okay.
Yeah. I think I'll stick to the first. So the first one that I would say is that has the highest chance currently with the current landscape of games and also from my understanding of the space, probably Pirate Nation. That's what I'd be guessing. Where the game model of essentially building the next firewall, but putting it fully on chain and having all of the assets be tradable, I think that could be the very first thing that reaches us into the mainstream. And I think once that hole is open, other projects will be able to follow. That's why I'm also personally very interested in spotlighting the people like even talkers and chatting with the entire leadership team to try to distill those learnings and their thoughts to many of the much smaller micro game studios we have in Kubernetes games, which represent the majority of the space currently. But many of these game studios will also grow in the next years. So I think it's very important to capture the learnings of the biggest fish in the pond currently.
Yeah, that's cool.
For me, I would say I'd say Biomes. Definitely the game I'm most bullish on at the moment. It's basically kind of Minecraft with money, and I think like it's really conducive to a lot of kind of speculation. And I think we're all defense here, and I know to me it's like kind of having a really big economy and kind of speculative component will really kind of help these games grow. And I think Biomes as kind of it's a really big sandbox to kind of have that kind of degeneracy happen. And it's yeah, shout out to all the Superbowls in the audience as well. Digital Wood. But yeah, I would say Biomes probably my top list.
Yeah, I'm gonna try incredibly neutral approach, so I'm not going to show you my bags. In my eyes, it's also difficult to gauge what makes a game successful, or which metric is the one that we should pay close attention to, or the closest attention to. Is it number of active wallets? Is it number of transactions? Is it volume, revenue, whatever? And in my eyes, I think the first successful game is going to be the game that becomes popular without people even caring that it's on chain. Kind of like how Polymarket became a huge success during the recent US election, and most people have no clue that it's actually on Polygon. So, sorry, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not sure in which genre the game is going to be. I hopefully it's going to be one of your games here in the audience, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing them.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
I think for a game to become very successful, it needs a niche that is available for it. And from my experience, the shooters are pretty available for people, the MOBAs are pretty available for people, the Minecraft is there and it's almost free to play or even free to play. And what is not available for many players, especially for like kids at school who don't really have money, are many strategies. And I'm not talking about single player strategies. You can play single player and Civilization or something like that, but you don't have accessible tournaments for games like Civ, StarCraft, etc. for strategies. So any on-chain strategy game that will be properly built and accessible, for example, with the free modes, free playing modes, does have potential to become truly popular and successful. And the one thing that comes to my mind, and it's obviously biased because I played it the whole week, is Eternum, which is like Civilization and EU4. And I think you can join the game and play against 100 players. You can't do this in normal strategies. If they will have, for example, free mode, then in my opinion, thousands and tens of thousands players will be able to play there and will want to play there.
Yeah, that's two insights. And for the very last question, let's check it out. Web2 players, do you have Web2 friends? What is your alpha? How to convince Web2 players to onboard crypto gaming, or what is missing?
So I've been trying to onboard my Web2 players, so my hardcore gamer friends that despise the idea of loot boxes in games, that think crypto is just the next iteration of loot boxes in games, so they really hated the space until very recently. And I've been trying for the past 3 years, slowly, passively to onboard them. So I managed to crack the, let's call it, the nut with Eternum. So Eternum is the game that I was using as my main kind of way of persuasion back 3 years ago, where I was explaining it to my friends as a crypto version of Tralia. Back then it was quite close to Tralia, and now it's more close to something like Civilization. And now that the final testnet was here, I was actually able to onboard them. Almost. So they enjoyed all of the elements of the game, everything that I explained to them in terms of the tribes inside the game. So we had our own tribe called Dragons. Some of them are with the ultras of Ljubljana kind of sports clubs, which are called Green Dragons. So that's how they decided to name the tribe. But in the end, I didn't manage to fully onboard them, specifically because of the current onboarding flow of setting up the controller, the cartridge controller. So that was the one kind of point where I had to have a 15-minute one-on-one call with one of the players that was a bit afraid of some of the function calls that were shown to him in the very first signing. I think two of them have something to do with giving permission of the wallet. So they thought that their other crypto would be stolen on their other wallets. So in the end, I was able to persuade them, but that was already too late because this guy right here won the game. Yeah. But after a very brief kind of discussion with my friends, they were calmed down and they understand why cartridge has to go through that. You know, why they show you that. But still, that was a major point of kind of confidence. So.
Yeah, it looks scary.
Yeah. Onboarding Web2 gamers is definitely far easier said than done. I think the main thing that the program needs is just like not really trying to sell them on something, but kind of present the game itself and be like, hey, it's a fun game, you guys should check it out. I think normies don't really like the feeling they're shilling something or selling them a vision or something. I think it's like for example, Primordium, so to some of my normie friends would be like, this game is really fun, check it out. And they play it, and it was pretty hard to tell if it was even an on-chain game. They gas their burner directly, no need for MetaMask or anything like that. And yeah, I think it's like kind of protecting the game and focusing on the game itself rather than the tech. I think is kind of the best way to get kind of Web2 gamers who aren't as interested in like the tech side and just want to find something fun to play.
Yeah, I completely agree that it's difficult to just show games to your friends because you know that you're going to be playing if they sign a wrong transaction, if their wallet gets compromised. If there's any problem and you told them about the game, it's your fault in the end. And unfortunately, I value my friends too highly at the moment to just straight up shield them games, especially those that require purchase of NFTs or tokens just to gain access to the game. That's why I think it's great to have a demo playable version for free, so a player can test it out, they can decide whether they want to invest more into it. And the other part is that my friends are simply busy, they have their own lives, they have their own jobs. And if the game can't compare with a Web2 alternative, they're simply not going to pick it. Perhaps shielding the money aspect of it could make it more appealing to them, but in the end, it's difficult to justify the time investment, and then the token fluctuates, and again, it's your fault for it dropping and going to zero. So far, it's been more net negative in my eyes than a positive to talk to my friends about Web3 games. But if you're a Web3 developer or a gamer, I'd love to talk with you about this stuff because I'm sure that you went through the same hurdles, and hopefully you're not going to play me if something bad happens to you.
You create a proper game, you make it accessible, and you abstract on chain elements, like cartridge for example. Like Nate said.
Yeah. So thank you for your time and answers. I'm pretty sure that guys dropped a ton of alpha. You can think about it and incorporate in your games. And I encourage you to go and still promote your game to the player house. We have a ton of really good experienced players that will not blame you because you have to connect to the wallet. And yeah, and you can learn from that. So thanks for your time and thanks guys for coming.